Hello and welcome to our next video. In this lesson, we're going to talk about conditional operators. And what we'd like to see here is how we can use decision statements to determine different execution paths in our code. We can use these decision statements to determine if something is true, execute this line of code, else execute this line of code. And we even have things like an else if we want to have multiple else conditions. As we grow as programmers, we'll also learn about a thing called a switch, which gives us the ability to do multiple conditional statements as well. And we'll be using conditional statements not only in our if-else statements, but in our loops as we continue to grow. So let's take a quick look at conditional operators. And so this is our conditional operators project. Go ahead and get the starter pack, and I'm working on the final here, of course, because at the end of this will be completed. But the starter pack is what you'll want to start with this condition. I'm going to just make this a little bigger for now so we can see it a little easier. And what we have are different conditional operators that we can use to check things. For example, if we want to use equal, we remember that it is two equal signs. We don't want to use just one equal sign because that does an assignment, and that would be bad because it would always be equal to what we assign it to. So if we don't have multiple equal signs, it will actually give us a compile time error. So if I were to have x equals 10 here, we should see that this won't compile because that would make no sense because x will always be 10. So we want x equals 10 to make sure that equality is checked correctly. We have the AND operator, which is two and percents, so hopefully you're familiar with that as well. And the OR operator, which is two straight pipes. We have less than or equal to, less than or equal to, the not operator or bang, which basically negates our statement, and not equal. So I have a bunch of statements here that we can quickly run through to save time. You should take more time probably to look through these on your own, especially if this is a topic you struggle with a little bit. What we want to do is just do a couple quick checks here, and you can change values at the top here so that you can have the conditional operators go in different paths if you'd like. Or you can change them throughout just by, reassigning. For example, I could set x equals 52 here if I wanted to make that statement operate in a different way. So the first statement is if x equals 10. So x right now is going to be set to 10, so this will be true. And then, of course, it won't print x is not equal to 10 because x is equal to 10. So you just remember that it skips over the else block when x is 10. Very straightforward, hopefully very familiar to you guys. X not equal to 20 is also true because x is equal to 10. And again, if you wanted to change it to 20 here to see that it doesn't execute, then it's great. Also note, we don't have to have an else block, and so an if statement will stand alone. And these tracker variables, you can just ignore them. That's just so when I print it out, I have something to show a differentiation on, so don't worry about that tracker variable too much. If x is greater than 5, which is true, if x is less than 20, which is true, x is less than 5 is false, so the else statement here is x is not less than 5 would be what we would expect to see. X is less than or equal to 10, it is 10, so we should see x is less than or equal to 10. X is greater than or equal to 10 is also true because x is 10. And then we have a Boolean value here, is true is equal to true. So if is true, print Boolean is true is true. If is true, equal true. Boolean is true. So this is just to show you some different syntaxes that you can do and ultimately to help you get away from doing statements like this. Because if you're just checking if something is equal to true, just use the variable. And that also brings up another point. If you're writing a complex if statement, and this is just me being on a soapbox, but basically it really takes up a lot of room if you write an if-else block to simply return true or false. For example, if you were to do something like if x equals true, return true, else return false. Now I see this all the time as a grade code, and so I just want to point this out to try to call your attention to it. When you're working through your code, if you see yourself writing a statement where you're just returning true and an else that returns false, then whatever variable you're checking here for equality is actually true or false. So if you were to do if x, you would still get true or false, which also means that this entire statement, if else returning true or false, can simply be return X, because that's going to return true or false. There's no need for the if or else block. So anyway, that's just me being on a soapbox and a caveat, and I'm sorry to take up a little time there, but something to get on your radar as you grow as a programmer. If is true is equal to true. Exactly, it's the same thing. Now we set it to false. Not is true will be true because it's a double negative basically. If it's not true, then this is true, so it's false, so not true is true. Same thing here with is false. And continuing on, this is the AND operator. X is equal to 20 and is true, so here we can see that that should print. X is not equal to 10 and not is true should not print because X is true, so we'll see that X is equal to 10, then we go here. Otherwise, X will print Boolean is true, and we won't see this because X is 20, so we won't get anything printed about X here. X is equal to 100 or is true, then that means that since it's an OR statement, if one of them is true, we'll go into this, and if X is equal to 100, we'd print this. Otherwise, is true. And then same thing with X is 1,000 or not is true. So if there is no condition where X is 1,000 and true is set to true, we wouldn't see either one of those. It would go down to the else. X is not 1,000 and is true. And there's just more information here using parentheses to set priority. So if X is greater than 20 and is true, or X is greater than 35, you can go into this block. And so again, I would exhort you to go ahead and dig deeper into this code to look into more of this. And we're going to finish up real quickly with test string, and we're just checking equality on strings here. And the important thing to note is that it is case sensitive unless we use equals ignore case, in which case any string is no longer case sensitive, and we're able to go ahead and ignore that case, and they should be equal at that point. So that's basically what conditional operators are doing here. And so again, take some time on your own to work through this code, change variables around, double check equals, less than, equals is greater than, etc., and make all of that happen so that you can work through this code and get really familiar again with conditional statements. And here you can see those conditional statements will print out very nicely, and you can determine which path it went down based on what's being printed out. So that wraps up our quick review of conditional operators. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.